A Georgia community continues to grieve following the nation's latest school shooting. 2 students and 2 teachers died at Appalachia High School, about an hour northeast of Atlanta. A 14-year-old student is in custody, and authorities say he'll be tried as an adult. NBC's Priya Sridhar is at the school in Winder, Georgia.
Another student texted, "Mom, I heard gunshots. I'm scared. Please come get me."
The suspect has been identified as 14-year-old Colt Gray, who was a student at the school, and we're now learning that he was actually on the radar of the FBI just last year. They say authorities questioned both him and his father revealing that he did have hunting rifles inside of the house.
14-year-old Colt Gray sat and listened as the judge in Winder, Georgia, went over the charges against him.
I want to make sure that you are aware that you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to say anything at all.
The teenager faces 4 counts of murder for Wednesday's shooting that killed 2 teachers and 2 students at Appalachia High School. The district attorney says his office expects to.
We're also hearing from authorities that he used an AR-15 style weapon.
Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I have a very important video to bring to you. Yes, it is about the school shooting that happened in Winder, Georgia, which is about an hour drive northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, in between Athens and Atlanta. Now, during that shooting that just happened September 4th, a young man named Cody Gray went in, 14 years old, and he ended up killing 2 students, 2 teachers, and he killed and he injured 8 or 9 other people. Now, the tragedies of that alone, it's unspeakable. So obviously I had to do the deep dive. First of all, as of right now, as of September 4th, we've had 45 shootings in the United States, school shootings. 13 were in college campuses. 32 were in K-0 to 12 schools. 23 people were killed and 68 people were injured. And that's just this year. So we're going to get into this in a little bit different way on this case. A lot of people are talking about the tragedy and should guns be taken off, should they not? I'm going to get into a little bit of that, but you're going to hear a little bit of different opinion of mine. Here's why. Cody Gray was the son. He's getting charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. Now, here's what shocked me. The father of this son, who was raising this kid alone, they had a broken marriage, he had a broken marriage with his wife, has just been charged with a total of 180 years he can get. He had 4 counts of child neglect, child abuse. I didn't get that. He got charged with manslaughter. He got 2 counts of manslaughter and 2 counts of murder itself. That blows me away off the bat. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people saying, wait a minute. Yes, we should charge this guy with that kind of, we should charge the parent, as they did with the Crumleys. Jen and James Crumley got sentenced this year in April. They got sentenced to 10 years each. Now, they're the parents of a young man, Ethan Crumley, who ended up shooting in Michigan in 2001. He ended up going in with a pistol that they bought him, and he ends up going in and do a school shooting, killing people. Now, when that happens, the first time ever since this country, in the founding of school shootings, if you want to call it that, they charge the parents. Now, where do I believe that should be? First of all, it's hard for me to accept that at all. And I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this. And I'm telling you, and I'll tell you why I'm going to get the pushback on this. Because I don't believe this man should be charged unless, first of all, we don't know the whole story. Now, how well did this man secure the gun? Yes, there was an investigation into this young man through a Discord that someone said there was a threat to a school for a shooting, and they had his name, but they investigated. They could not prove it. It was not coordinating with the technology that was in this whole entire incident. So they never went and charged this kid or even investigated him more deeply. Because obviously, if you want to put blame on somebody, if the authorities are going to check your house for a school shooting, I think they should know automatically, and I think they do, if there's guns in that house And if there are guns in a house, maybe take the guns out of that house if there's a legitimate threat. Now, obviously, you're going to get Second Amendment people who are going to go up in arms. How can you take somebody's guns? And I agree with that. I am actually a pro-Second Amendment person. I don't carry guns. I can't have a gun as a convicted felon. And I wouldn't even have a gun if I could have a gun, because I think they cause more problems than they do solutions. Now, do I believe in guns? Do I think protection? Let's say you live in Alaska. Let's say you live in the outside areas of somewhere, and you need to have. What do you think the response time for law enforcement would be if someone was breaking into your house? I would want a pistol. I think people should have the right to have a pistol. And who does gun control hurt? Gun control hurts legitimate people. Listen, if you're a criminal, you're going to get a gun. But here's also, most of these shootings, the guns are not stolen or they're not obtained illegally. They are bought, licensed, and everything else. After that, how do you start checking everybody's mental states after they buy a gun? Should there be a re-registration application, like a driver's license? After 8 years, you have to get your driver's license again. I don't believe that should happen either. And sticking on to the Second Amendment, obviously we have a right to bear arms. That's not going to be changed, and it shouldn't be changed. We're founded on that. People don't understand how the history of the United States goes. When the England tried to come here and take the guns from our settlers here, that's exactly how it came about. But I'm not going to get down there. I'm going to get back into the case in a big way. First of all, they're charging this kid as an adult. So then how do you charge the parent for not monitoring their minor kid? So it's a really dicey situation because, one, this kid is not facing the death penalty. The other day I heard on the news that the judge read, you are facing the death penalty. You are not. As of 2005, Supreme Court made it cruel and unusual punishment to execute any person under the age of 18. So that's set in stone. He's not going to face the death penalty. He is facing life without parole or life with parole. Those are the only really two sentences he could get. Now, for the parents, for the father of this person to be held to be accountable to this level, let me give you an example. Here's where I don't like it. Are we now going to start parceling it out? Wait a minute. That your son stole somebody's car. Well, you taught him to drive. You started letting him drive at 14 and you took him to a parking lot like my dad did when I was 13. Well, I was driving pretty much. And now what happens? Now it's going to get down to the point where, hey, wait a minute. You taught him to drive. Now he's going to rob a car. At what point are we going to hold the person responsible? And I get it now, minors. Everybody's going to say, Larry, he's 14. Why did he have a gun? First of all, we don't know how well he secured that gun, number one. Number two, if the police thought it was a real threat, they should have took the guns out of that house. They should have done that. So I'm going to blame more on the officials who investigated this incident. Now, does the father have any responsibility? First of all, let me tell you how it's going to work in a court of law. In a court of law, they're going to have to prove that the father was so negligent in his parenting of this young man that he caused these deaths of these two people with neglect of taking care of. Now, in the Crumley case in Michigan, Karen McDonald, who was the prosecutor, and I watched that case, that lady actually convicted him, and that blew me away. These were two parents. They had no idea this was going to happen. They were cooperative. Listen, at what point do we start holding the kid? Besides that, now let's talk about economics. If you're a mother raising two kids and you have two jobs and you can't check on this kid's maybe cell phone or whatever, are you now going to go to jail because your son did something when you couldn't even put food on the table, and that's why you're out doing it? So now you have a very wealthy family and they do over some, and now the kid hangs himself, or the kid does something so egregious that now you're, as a parent, you got to be saying, do I want kids? We love our kids. Yes, everything about that is true. But at what point are we going after people just as scapegoats? At what point are we trying to look for, what's that word I use? We're trying to look for a person to blame besides the person who did the act. Yes, what do you do if a kid is 9 years old and he does this? Is he capable of doing it? Obviously, he could pull a trigger. Maybe somebody showed him how to pull a trigger. Are we going to now blame video games because they're violent? At what point are we as a society going to say, wait a minute? Now, I don't have easy answers to all of this. You know, everybody says, well, take the guns off the I don't believe in that either. Because I had a discussion with actually producer Nick, and I said to Nick, hold on. Now, what's the next step? The kid takes a kitchen knife out of your cupboard and goes and stabs 4 kids and kills them. Are you as the parent going to be charged as well? I don't think you can do that. We can't do that, people. We have to start looking at these cases as cases. We have a systemic. Here is the problem we have in the United States. It's the kids, it's the psychological, it's the mental problems we're having. Maybe it's the schooling, maybe it's the upbringing, maybe it's the social media, maybe it's TV. Listen, if there was an easy answer, we'd rubber stamp this thing and be done with it. Am I correct? Yes. Here's what I want to know from you. Where do you stand on this? Where do you, as a person who follows me, stand? Should the parents be charged with this kind of a crime, this kind of time? You're talking about taking this guy's life away, all because he bought a gun for the kid for Christmas with nothing else. Maybe there was nothing else. Maybe there were no other signs. Obviously, we're going to learn more about this case, but I had to let people know I don't agree with it. Charging parents is so wrong, because here's what you have. What is it? Lack of behavior. Now we're going to hold the parents to such a strict level of raising our kids. We're trying to raise robots. You know, when I grew up, we were what they call latchkey kids, which means my parents were working, and I came home, and we went out, we did what we're going to do. Things happen. Again, when I think of prison, I think of the people that I was in there with. I don't think of the parents of a kid who's a school shooter. I want to say I think the school resource officer did an excellent job. They were there, they attacked quickly, they subdued this kid, and there was no more tragedies after that happened. This young man was transferred to this school 2 days before this incident happened. The first day, he was only there for 30 minutes. The second day, he gets there, and within minutes after an algebra class or during an algebra class, he takes his rifle. Another kid, call him a hero or, I don't know, call it villain. One kid locked him out of the room he was in, and he went to the next room. So I'm sure a lot of people are saying, I think that kid was right. For whatever reason, he closed the door. He probably screamed, hey, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. They locked down the school, and he ended up doing something that quick. Again, if there is a person who has evil intent, it's going to be very, very hard to stop that person without some kind of tragedy happening first. That's just the facts of what we're dealing with. Could you imagine the strain on a family? Even the kids now, if they thought their parents were going to be charged for everything they did. I mean, what are we trying to create here? We are not creating a society that I want to live in. What I'd like to see happen is better mental health evaluations, follow-ups, more social workers. I think we need more of the family units getting the help they need. We had a family here that was broken. The mom is charged with crazy crimes, and she hit a 70-year-old not long ago. She's in jail. I mean, she accused the father of abuse on her. Who knows what's going on with this kid in his head and why he did what he did? There's not a justification in the world, and I'm not trying to make that case. I'm trying to make the case that I think it's wrong to charge the parents in a case that we don't know everything. And I think the prosecutor in this case is just going for blood. And there's young people died, and that's sad, and they're not coming back. And there's 2 teachers that died, and that's sad, and they're not coming back. And all the young people who were there and the victims, they're gonna have trauma for the rest of their lives, and you can't change that. But you can get more mental health in schools, so maybe they could have gotten this situation before it happened. Okay, people said, but Larry, then why did he buy him a gun? First of all, in that area, that's a rural area, that's what they did. They hunted, they used guns. I mean, that's common around the United States. Unless you're a city dweller, that's common around the United States. So don't just blame every parent, and think about that. And think about that as a parent. Should you be charged for everything that your child did? I don't think so. I know I'm controversial on this video, but you know, if you watch my channel, you know I'm going to tell it like I see it. Simple. And I welcome the debate from friends and you guys. Have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe, make good choices, and let me know what you think in the links below, in the comments below, because I will be answering them.